Hey everyone! Thanks for tuning in to the third episode of The Scene, the show where we live by the artist's favorite rule: imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Without further ado, let's redo it! The movie that we're going to be taking a look at today is probably my favorite movie of all time. As a film student, I find that sort of big statement a little difficult to say, but we're going to roll with it for the sake of this video. So I am super excited to announce that the movie that we're going to be looking at is 2001: A Space Odyssey. We're going to be looking at the most famous scene from that movie, the line that is quoted for all times and all scenarios. If you haven't seen the movie, you've probably heard this line before. Although now that I just said that long spiel, we're actually probably looking at the second most famous scene, the first most famous being with the monolith and the apes. And if you haven't seen it, it sounds like I'm just talking crazy, but I'm not. You should really see it. The scene that we're actually going to be looking at is towards the end of the movie, where let's just say Siri / Google Assistant / Alexa, whoever, Bixby, maybe, it's probably Bixby, is giving our protagonist a little trouble. Let's take a look.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal? Do you read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
You've definitely heard that line before, right? Open the pod bay doors, Hal. Like, everybody has heard that line before. And that's what we're going to try and redo. So, wish me luck. This is definitely the most complex one, and we may end up redoing this episode another time. Redoing the redo. I don't know, whatever. Not getting into that now. Not stressing out about that now. Because we have a lot to focus on. We got to get the lighting right. There's sort of that orange glow from the sides on the bottom, and then the red glow from above. You have the lighted panels behind, the costume, the blinky light on the face. There's a lot going on in this, so the setup is going to be a little bit longer than usual. Let's dive in. The setup for this shoot involved a couple different pieces, the first being the costume. So I ended up getting a very cheap red puffy jacket from Amazon, which was to replace the spacesuit, and then some luggage straps to replace the sort of seatbelt looking things that he's got on the spacesuit in the scene. I used some black masking tape to add the stripes, as well as to keep the belts strapped down. I also had a little bit of foil that I used to wrap around the neck, sort of like where the helmet would fit on. Not super successful. Then we moved on to the panels, which were behind me in the shot. That's where sort of some light was leaking through. We got some blue and green lights. Just using a Sharpie to get that matte look. You can see I wrote good enough on one of those boxes. This was definitely the part in which I felt most like a kid making a science fair project. Also not quite so successful, but you know, in a pinch, it does the trick. Some little nice bokeh on it. This was in combination with quite an elaborate lighting setup, which involved a lot of wax paper with a red Sharpie colored on, and as well as a couple different sort of golden light bulbs. You can see here that with the panels, I used that wax paper also to diffuse the light, So I covered up the inside of the boxes as well as behind the lights so that you wouldn't see those individual LED bulbs so much, and it would sort of cast the light around within the boxes. Then I put up some black paper, got the lights all set up, sat down, and was ready to shoot. So we started out the same way as always, going through the original clip, taking out the sections that I was replacing, and then going through my footage to pull out the bits that I was actually going to be using. Then it was just a matter of overlaying my footage over the original footage. Luckily in this case there was no music to line up, so if I had to extend a couple things, it was really no problem. And then on to color correction. I really had to up the contrast on this, bring the blacks down, kind of highlight the reds, but then also I got to do a really cool thing. So in the original shot there's these kind of like lights projected onto his face that sort of change shape. It's like the readout from the display in front of him. I didn't want to rent an expensive projector or even buy one for this shoot, so instead I just used a mask and I changed the shape of the mask across different shots and then up the brightness. And then of course my usual 35mm grain, crop, second thoughts about the color, and we're good to go. Here's the scene.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Hello, Hal. Do you read me? Hello, Hal. Do you read me? Hal, do you read me?
Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And there we have it. That was the scene. What'd you think? As always, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to reach out to me on social media if you want to recommend other movies that I should be doing or you want to collaborate. I am always interested in that. That would be amazing. This was a really fun project. I think it turned out better than I thought it was going to, especially as I was cutting out the cardboard boxes. That whole process just kind of made me feel like a kid doing a science fair project again, so the fact that I got to see it all, I feel is pretty good. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty fun. I'm definitely pretty happy with this. It may be the sort of scene that I redo another time, but I'm glad I tackled it early. Anyway, as always, thanks so much for tuning in to the third episode of The Scene. Catch you next time.